Do you look at people who are super successful or people who seem to have it all figured out? Or do you ever just scroll on Facebook and see people living their happy, fun lives and think to yourself, how come they have it so easy? And I am never going to get there because this is what my life looks like. This is what I've been through, and this is my trauma. Now, your feelings are completely valid. You have every right to feel this way. But I want to talk today on advantages and disadvantages to give you the advantage on your life. Each individual living their life has a life potential, a life purpose, and a journey to get there. At any different stage in any individual's journey, we're going to have setbacks. We are going to have things that we are struggling with. We are going to have the desires that we are moving towards. We are going to have fun experiences and not so fun experiences. That's the entire point of life. And it is through what we don't want that we get what we do want. Each individual has a different brain type, has a different nervous system, and they have different parts of their identity that are both advantages and disadvantages. Every individual also has a different experience of trauma, and there is a spectrum to trauma on how bad it was. However, when we look at the life purpose for any individual human, what we need to understand is this. I'll give you an example so this can be super clear. One person may grow up in a household where they have a lot of money and a lot of advantages when it comes to being able to afford getting into a good college, going to the right schools, having better school environment because of the money funded at that school, versus somebody who grew up very poor, who went to schools that were maybe not well funded or well educated or well resourced, had less experiences because of that could be financially funded. They may have experiences of having a lot of disadvantages when it comes to getting into a good college or a good university or being able to afford it at all. Another person may be super rich, but their disadvantage is that their family may have grown up putting all of this pressure on them, constantly being down their throat around the family name and living up to their potential. They were never good enough for that parent, and it is possible that that person may have grown up maybe with a lot of money, maybe with a lot of nice clothes or a lot of opportunities or experiences that was their advantage, but they may have felt super alone and like they had no real family. Maybe they felt super isolated and disconnected from their family, whereas somebody who is living in poverty even, or middle class, maybe they have a really close family and a lot of belonging. I'm going to give you some other examples to really shape what I mean around disadvantages and advantages in every individual's life. Let's say that Natasha grew up feeling like she had all of this extreme trauma. Like, we're talking extreme trauma. She had trauma around belonging. She had trauma around being scapegoated by society because she was autistic and disabled. She had experiences of sexual abuse, being neglected. Natasha has an extreme end of trauma. But the advantages that she could use in her life would be that her family actually put a lot of money into her, which helped fund her career and her education. And that family maybe gave the capacity for her to have the advantage on having a lot of time to develop herself and heal from that trauma. Now, even though she is on the extreme end of trauma, and even though it doesn't feel super happy and fun when she's there and in the thick of it, she could capitalize on that financial support, which is not necessarily huge, but it is the support that she needs for her specific career, her specific life moving forward, to heal from the trauma and to fulfill her purpose. We're gonna give another example here, actually two. Justin grew up in a family that were actually immigrants, and they were extremely poor his entire life. He experienced not being able to always have full meals. He experienced not always being able to have nice things. And in fact, he experienced so much poverty in his life that he decided to get his first job and never stop working from that age on at 9 years old. He got a paper route. And from there, he got another job and another job. He may have grown up extremely poor, but because he started working so young, he also started saving money so young. And his parents taught him values like save money and always put money aside and never take anything for granted. His parents taught him things like it's the simple things that matter, and nobody can ever make you feel small. His parents, especially his father, motivated him in a positive, supportive way to be the man that could rise out of poverty no matter his disadvantages. And that's exactly what he did. He saved up so much money working as an employee and as the groundwork and working just normal jobs to then getting manager to this and that. He worked his way up. He saved and saved and saved, and he valued allowing himself to get out of that space so much so that he then became the boss of a business. Not only did he become the boss of one business, he then became the boss of 2, 3, and then even 4. And he started with nothing. His advantage in life was the teachings that his father and his mother had passed down to him that actually led him to be able, from the ground up, to have an advantage. You see, not only were his parents immigrants who were poor, but they had also just escaped a world war where not only was money an issue in their life, but personal safety was also an issue, and they never had real stability in their life. And so they actually felt grateful for having a stable environment and not being prosecuted every time they walked out the door. So for them, they were able to actually feel so grateful and focus on how lucky they felt and how safe they felt, because money didn't really mean all that much to them as long as they had a loving family. And they took that loving family and they molded their children to know that they could do anything that they set their minds to. And that's exactly what their son did. Now we're gonna take another story. Soraya was in foster care her entire childhood, and she didn't have money. She went through a ton of abuse. She went through hell and back in her early life. Soraya's advantages in life were certain people, certain rare people that brought her in and gave her the love that she desired and needed, and gave her the teachings that she needed in order to become the woman that she would grow into. When she was younger, it was her grandmother, and then it turned into friends that she would run away to, no matter how bad the foster homes were. And when she was 17 years old, she got brought into one family that maybe wasn't perfect, but she had a really awesome sister there. And this family actually finally wasn't as extremely abusive as she was used to, and they actually financially took care of her in a way that she'd never experienced before. They also supported her and led her in the direction to work full-time and go to university in order to support herself in her adult life. And again, she ended up meeting a partner who then became her financial support and her stability. She then went on to create a family of children that supported her and loved her in the way that she had always craved and wanted. As people take their advantages and capitalize on them, They raise in vibration and they raise in their level of joy and happiness in their life. And it never stops. We never have to stop capitalizing on our advantages, and we will never stop being impacted by disadvantages and by trauma. We will never end our desire to have more, but we can raise our vibration and we can walk up the vibrational standpoint, but also we can heal our trauma as well. Now, there are infinite ways to heal one's trauma, but I'm just gonna name a few. Somatic therapy, hypnotherapy, the completion process by Teal Swan, which I am certified in, parts work, which I'm also a practitioner of, as well as hypnotherapy. Then you have all sorts of different industries like massage therapy, or like psychology, or like group therapy, or group support systems. There are endless ways to get the opposite experience or heal. You may even heal your trauma through a single person that enters your life, just by them giving you the opposite experience, listening, and letting you cry on their shoulder. Yes, certain people have extreme disadvantages in certain areas. And yes, certain people have extreme advantages in other areas. But we all have areas in our life where we have trauma, first of all, and we all have areas in our life where those advantages and those disadvantages are going to hurt us and help us. Disadvantages are actually there to shape you into the person that is going to be led in the direction to create your unique purpose on this planet. For instance, somebody's disadvantage and trauma is going to lead them to create an extreme identity around what they do want based on what they didn't want. It's going to lead somebody to go in the exact opposite direction that they have currently experienced, and therefore to create an excellence around it and be the very best at it. Our disadvantages push us and shape us into the person that we are meant to be. They push us in, yes, horrible ways in order to understand what it is that we do want and who it is we do want to be. They create preferences for us, they create dislikes, they create things that we want and don't want, and they create a way that we feel about the world. Like everything on this polarity-based dimension, the yin and the yang always work together. Our advantages are actually there to support us in our disadvantages. The advantages that we have in our life, if we can realize what they are, figure out what our excellence is, and capitalize the hell out of them, we will be supported in the very real and the very difficult journey and the very hard time that we're having with our disadvantages and with our trauma. It is those people that understand where their advantages are and actually figure out how to capitalize on them to the most extreme, and how those advantages are specifically there to support them, that they are able to jump and leap eons past what they thought was ever possible for them. First of all, pain is subjective. Pain is coming from a very subjective perspective. That means that how bad it is personally based on how bad it was for us. It's not something that can be really measured. But those of us who go through the worst in this life, the most extreme pain, they are not disadvantaged to never get out of it. It is not something that they cannot overcome. And in fact, some of the most successful, most genius people on this planet through the generations have been people that came from the worst of storms. And they pushed themselves and found a way through unspeakable circumstances to come out on top. We only have one life. And at every stage and journey of that life, there's going to be good and bad and pain. But if you want more for yourself, and if you want to capitalize on your purpose and continue to expand and grow and evolve in it so it looks more and more and more like your authentic truth, what you want to do is this. Write down a list of what you perceive your disadvantages to be, and then write down a list and make this list as big and bold as possible. Brainstorm the hell out of it. Brainstorm and brainstorm and brainstorm, and even ask people for opinions and questions on it. Develop this list to be as crazy as possible, and don't even be super attached to the things that you put on that list to feel like they have to be the be-all end-all. But write down as many possible advantages as you think that could possibly be something that would help you. And then figure out how those advantages can support you and can help you capitalize in your life on growth, evolution, change, and moving forward out of pain, out of suffering, out of what you don't want, into a place of power. Because the insight, knowledge, and perspective that can be gained by this exercise is absolutely crucial to allowing yourself to succeed quicker than you ever thought possible. Because what you thought was possible was only ever subjective anyways. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please give it a like, comment below, and even subscribe. If you're really enjoying and being helped in any way by the content that I share, I really advise you to go check out my website, lushheartsblossoming.com, and take a look at my e-course, Reclaim Your Power, for only 68 Canadian dollars.